Ashtabula Municipal Court Judge ALBERT-GAMPLESE ruled Monday, June 16, 2014, that Marque Daquan Brown would be bound over to common pleas court on 2 murder charges and domestic violence in the deaths of his girlfriend and unborn child. Brown's attorney, Richard Danolfo, had asked that only the domestic violence charge be bound over, saying there wasn't sufficient evidence for the 2 murder charges. Marie Lane, assistant Ashtabula solicitor, called victim Taisha Marie Ramirez Cedeno's siblings, Jennifer and Kenny Ramirez, to the stand, along with Ashtabula patrolman Dan Gillespie and James Hildebrand and coroner's investigator Tom DESPENES.
Jennifer, I want you to think back to May 25th of this year. Were you at your home at 922 West 48th Street? And that's here in the city of Ashtabula? And at about 6 o'clock in the morning, did something happen between your sister Taisha and Marque?
Yeah.
All right. What did you see happen, or what did you hear?
Well, they were in the bathroom at that time.
Taisha and the defendant?
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened?
Well, they were fighting about that they saw him somewhere in a club with a woman. So she was fighting with him and telling him. He told someone trying to say that was not true.
Okay. And then what happened?
That's when I heard her crying and screaming. And when I went in there, he was punching her in the face.
All right.
She was bleeding.
All right. And where was she in the bathroom?
In the toilet, sitting down, hanging on the floor.
Okay, so she was already on the floor?
Yeah.
And was there anybody else in the bathroom with her besides the defendant?
No.
And you said he was hitting her? And was that with an open hand or a closed fist?
Closed fist.
And where was he hitting her?
In the face.
How many times did you see him hit her?
Like 4 or 3.
Okay, 3 or 4 times?
Yeah.
Did he use one hand, both hands?
Well, kind of like both.
And then what happened?
That's why he went running. My brothers came down, pushed him to the tub. Then he went up running downstairs. That's when we helped her pick her up because she was bleeding a lot.
Okay, and then what happened?
He was downstairs staying her to telling her to forgive him.
Okay, and what kind of injuries did she have? How badly was she hurt?
She was bleeding from her nose a lot.
Okay, and did you have to take her to the hospital?
Yeah.
And how long did she stay at the hospital?
For like 20 minutes. Then she came back home.
She was only at the hospital 20 minutes?
Yeah, I went over there with my mom.
Okay. And what did they do for her at the hospital?
They gave her some Tylenol.
Okay. But you weren't at the hospital with her, right?
No, I got there when she was almost leaving.
Okay. So then did she come home? And what happened once she got home?
Well, when she got home, she wouldn't speak. She would only move and scratch people.
And was that something unusual for her?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what did you or your family do?
Well, that's when she started bleeding a lot from the nose. We got towels, trying to clean her up. Then we called the ambulance. She went back to the hospital.
All right. And what happened when she got back to the hospital?
That's when they said that the baby died.
All right. And what about Taisha?
They were saying they were doing anything they can to save her.
All right. And were they able to save her?
No.
Everything starts at 3 o'clock in the morning. He came into the house, and then about exactly 6 o'clock, I heard a scream. I went out there, and I told him, "Why you hit my sister?" I just got him separate.
All right. Did you see him hit your sister?
No, I didn't. I saw my sister on the floor bleeding.
All right. And what room were they in?
Bathroom.
And she was on the floor bleeding?
Correct.
All right. And so what did you do?
I just took him down the stairs.
All right. And were the police called?
My older brother called the police.
All right. And what did you do?
Trying to help my sister, talking to him.
All right. And did there come a time when you got your sister to the hospital?
It was like 7 o'clock, and 20 minutes after she got off from the hospital, they sent her home, saying that she was okay, but she wasn't.
Okay, and why do you say that?
Sorry?
Why do you say she wasn't okay when she got back from the
Because
hospital?
she kept telling me that she feel like no energy in her and a lot of headache.
Okay, and so did you stay with your sister?
Yeah, I did.
And what did you observe about her?
Sorry?
What did you notice about her, about how she was acting?
She wasn't acting okay. She was really, without energy. She told me she don't feel good. So they sent her home. I said they stay in the same hospital doing something. So soon, 20 minutes after that, she came back and they told me that her heart stopped.
Okay, and did she go back to the hospital before her heart stopped? Or
Yeah.
did that happen at home?
They said that her heart stopped at the house. That's why they took her fast to the emergency room.
Okay, and what about the baby?
They said the baby died first, but they don't know why.
Okay. Did your sister suffer any other types of injuries that day, other than what the defendant did?
Just a punch in the face. And I don't know if it wasn't her belly, because I didn't look at her belly.
And what kind of, did you see any injuries on her?
Her mouth was blown up, her nose, her face.
Okay. And was it like that before 6 o'clock that morning?
No.
The nature of the dispatch was a loud disturbance, so with a lot of people yelling and screaming, and somebody said that there was a lot of blood.
And did you proceed to that location?
Yes, I did.
And what did you find upon your arrival?
Well, when I arrived on the scene, myself and Patrolman Hildebrand approached the front door, and we could both hear a lot of yelling and screaming. I drew my taser and opened the door slowly, and I could see the backside of Mr. Brown kind of backpedaling his way to the front door. I called out to him and told him to come on over to the front door to me, where he was handcuffed, and then he was sat down in the back seat of my car.
All right, and what was the purpose in doing that?
The purpose of doing that is when I was talking to him, everybody inside the house were angry and upset at him. They were yelling and screaming at him. So I felt just for his own safety, just to get him in the backseat of my car, separated from everybody, and just start trying to figure out what was going on.
All right, so did you conduct an investigation?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do?
After Mr. Brown was seated in my car, I walked back to the house, and I observed a female sitting at the top of the flight of stairs, holding a towel to her face. Since I perceived that she was in obvious distress, I walked up over to her, talked to her to see what was going on. The female identified herself to me as Taisha, as Taisha's girlfriend.
Okay. And did you notice anything about her?
I had to ask her several times to remove the towel from her face. She didn't want to, but after several of her family members convinced her to pull down the bloody towel, I could see that it was just soaked. It appeared that her nose was broken and her top lip was busted open.
Okay. And did you also make any other observations about her appearance?
She was crying. She didn't really want to talk to me.
Okay. Did you notice that she was pregnant?
Yes.
So what did you do?
I tried to talk to her at first, but she was reluctant to give me any information. But her sister, who was sitting right by her side, Jennifer, described to me about what she had seen. And then I asked Taisha if that was correct. She said, yes, he did hit me. We were just fighting. That's all.
All right. And what did you do next, or what occurred next?
I asked all the family members if that had happened, and they pretty much gave the same summary of events. So then I walked down over to Marque and I Mirandized him, and I asked him if he wanted to give me his side of the story.
And did he?
He told me that the two were just involved in an argument. He told me that he didn't hit her, and that's just what happened. But he asked me a couple times if I could apologize to Taisha for what happened.
All right. And Did he have any explanation for her injuries?
None.
And then what else did you do?
Then, since I had enough to substantiate a charge for domestic violence, I placed him under arrest for domestic violence, and I brought him over to the station and booked him.
After several minutes went by, Patrolman Gillespie came out. He advised that the young female in the house had been assaulted, and that the family didn't want nothing done at that time. He also advised me that she was pregnant, and amongst myself, Lieutenant Dibble, and Patrolman Gillespie, we determined that we were going to file the domestic violence charges against Mr. Brown, who was identified as a suspect. And I obtained that form, and as I was getting that form from my patrol car, the paramedics had already arrived on scene, and they were walking Taisha, the victim, out to the ambulance. I followed them into the ambulance. With my camera, I asked her to, she had I believe it was a green colored towel, like a bath towel, up against her face. I asked her to remove the towel so I could photograph her injuries. And at that point, I was able to see that she had a redness around her nose. It appeared to be swollen, along with her upper lip appeared to be swollen. I took 2 photos of her face, and during that time, the blood began to drain from her right nostril.
And what did you do after that? I
completed the domestic violence form with her. I filled out the information because her hands were tied up holding the towel on her face. When I asked her how she was assaulted, she said that Mr. Brown had hit her, and I asked her to describe how, whether it was open hand or a closed hand, and I made that motion so she could see. At that point, she took an open hand and said he hit her like that. I asked how many times, and she advised me that she had been struck once. I noted this in the domestic violence form and then signed it and checked the selection stating that I was pursuing the charges.
Now, later that morning, were you working the dispatch desk?
Yes, I was.
All right. And did a call come in at approximately 9:15 a.m. related to this case?
Yes, it did.
And what happened?
I received a call from a male. Upon answering the call, I asked for the location. He gave out 922 West 48th. He advised me that his sister had just been released from the hospital and that she was bleeding uncontrollably again and that he needed paramedics. At that point, I went to transfer the call over to CCAM. There was a failure with the transfer, and I then hung up the 911 phone and made a direct call with our regular phone to CCAM. I advised them that the female from 922 West 48th was, again, bleeding and that they needed to respond to that location.
And to the best of your knowledge, did they do that?
Yes.
And did you learn what Taisha's condition was thereafter?
I did receive a call from CCAM a short time later. They advised me, it may have been within minutes, they advised me that they were back on scene over there and for an assault. I advised them at that point we'd already handled a report there.
The ruling by Dr. Lancaster was that it was a homicide.
And did that apply to the unborn child as well?
That I cannot answer.
Your Honor, it is the defense's contention that the state has not proven by substantial credible evidence that the 2 counts of murder alleged were committed or were committed by this defendant. There is no evidence that links Mr. Brown to any injury that would have caused the decedent's death. There is no evidence that, in fact, any actions by him in fact would have applied to her unborn baby, as was attested to by Mr. DESPENES. So we would ask the court, if there were a bind over in this matter, that only the domestic violence charge would have had any substantial credible evidence to justify being bound over, and that the murder charges, that there was no evidence presented that would rise to the level of proof for a bind over in this case.
Okay. The court has considered the testimony of the witness Jennifer Ramirez, who indicates that she observed the defendant punch her sister in the face 3 to 4 times with a fist, both hands being used, bleeding from her nose a lot. Brother Kenny took her to the hospital. She was there approximately 20 minutes. She was back. Penny, the brother, had indicated that she was complaining throughout of a headache, and that she had no energy. She didn't feel well. And within short order, the ambulance was called back. It was described by two of the witnesses that she was bleeding profusely. Officer Gillespie in particular indicated that he had difficulty even encouraging Ms. Ramirez to pull the towel away from her nose, where he observed significant blood loss. Nose appeared to be broken. I think he described her lip as being busted. We have Mr. DESPENES, who just testified that he has worked with the coroner's office. He also has a law enforcement background. His duty is to investigate the cause and manner of the death, although he described the findings as being preliminary. A preliminary cause of death has been ruled homicide. I am mindful, Mr. D'Onofrio, as you point out, that this finding has been made only against the decedent, Taisha Marie Ramirez Cedeno, and this finding was not extended by Mr. DESPENES to the child. But I will note that if as a preliminary matter, if I'm to accept these findings, and I find no reason not to accept them as a preliminary hearing matter, I'm going to find that if the mother passes, then it is a permissible inference that I can make that cause of death, homicide, as being attributable to the child as well. So I'm going to, even though I respect the argument you're making, I see it as a very technical argument at this stage, which is more amenable to the common police court, not a filtering court such as this. So I'm going to bind all three charges over to the common police court for further proceedings before the county grand jury. The bond that was previously settled. Anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
And Mr. Knopfler.
Nothing further.